Alright, this is Breaking the Silence, episode number 8. And in this video, I'm going to do a little drawing for you. What we have here is the poster, Death on Dan's Moon. And as you can see, I've already started working on this. I'm pretty close to being done, but I wanted to finish it up with you guys here. I would say, it's just as a kind of a disclaimer, I am not an expert on inking. There are people out there and videos out there that are much better than I am that I would encourage you to look up on YouTube. But I'd still get requests from people to do some drawing. So I figured I'd do a little, 5 or 10 minute video just doing a little bit of inking for you and provide a little bit of commentary. First thing I'm going to tell you is, for this particular drawing, I'm using a Copic multiliner, a 0.5. And I don't normally use this pen. The reason why is because I usually use these... I don't know how you say it, Faber-Castells, I guess. Faber-Castells, I'm probably butchering that. And I usually do extra small to do my line work like in here. And the reason why is because you can go in with really thin line, and then you can go back and blacken or thicken in, shadows and just give line variety. That's one thing that I really am intentional about, is making sure the line is very different all over the page. It gives it something that's pleasing to the eye, I think. But in this case, I busted the nib on this for some reason. I hadn't used it for a little while, and it wasn't working consistently. So I had this Copic marker, and I thought I'd try it. But my opinion is, not a big fan of this Copic one. Maybe I just don't know what I'm doing with it. But it's a bit inconsistent. As far as in this area, it's really dark black. And then I did some work in here, and it's just a lighter black. I don't know why. Maybe it's just the way I'm using it, but either way, not a big fan of the Copic. It's a little bit thicker than I'm normally used to. It's a 0.5, which I think this extra small is a 0.5 too, but this extra small is a little bit thinner. I like that better. But I figured I'd start with this pen, and I'd go ahead and finish it out and just work with it. And I like to try something new. I like to try something different with my art. Usually every picture I try to do something a little bit different, just so I can continue to grow. And so in this one, I decided to use a Copic marker. So the other thing you'll notice here is I ink on tracing paper. And so I draw on a regular comic book board, standard stock paper, with I use one of these fancy mechanical pens that you can buy at your local grocery store. And then I use this tracing paper, and yeah, so that's how I do my inking. The tracing paper is funny. I get different reactions to that. I'll start drawing here while I talk, but I have some people who are really fascinated by that. They're like, oh, you draw on tracing paper? Does it hold the quality of the line and all that kind of stuff? And it really does. I mean, it's not really fancy paper, so 50 years it may have turned all yellow and look nasty and everything, but I've got everything scanned in, so who cares, except for the real serious collectors, I guess. They would want the originals, but either way, it doesn't matter. So, and then the other thing, the other reason why I use tracing paper is because I don't need a light table, so I can see exactly what's going on underneath. And I also keep the original pencils, and I don't have to worry about if I mess it up really bad. I can just tear it off and start over. It's funny, I had a guy in Wizard World Nashville Comic-Con who worked for Marvel, doing some inking work for them, and I asked him to come by my table and give me a little evaluation on my drawing and stuff, and he was like, you need to ink right on the pencils. And he said, because you're inking on tracing paper, saying that you're really not confident with your inking. And he almost made it like a real test of authenticity and a real badge of honor if you just ink right on the pencils. And I was like, whatever. As he was talking, I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. I mean, I don't want to make a mistake with my inks, and I don't want to mess up the pencils, but I'm in the back of my mind, I'm like, look, dude, it's not the badge of honor. It's not the hill to die on, whether you ink right on pencil or not. I don't know. I've gotten different reactions from inkers who, I don't know, it's just, I don't want to be too critical, but I just thought that was a funny standard that the guy had, that you had to ink right on the pencils to really be a real, true inker. But either way, I don't care. I do mine on tracing paper, and if you don't like it or you think I'm a weak inker, that's fine. That's your opinion. Either way, that's my little sermon for you today. But anyways, right here, what I'm doing is drawing these little like cloth hands. This character is called a Groll, and he lives on or these people live on this moon from one of the planets in the Silenless universe. And on this moon, this is kind of like a concentration camp. And so they've cut off his hands, and so they've wrapped them up with this gauze, and so he can't feed himself. Well, part of the story is these other guys, which you'll see down here in the corner, right here in the silhouette, they were enemies of these Grolls, but as part of their punishment, now they have to live on the same planet together. And in order to survive, the Grolls have to kill the food, because the food is way too big for these other dudes to kill. But the Grolls can't eat it, so these other guys have to like process it and feed it to the Grolls. So that's kind of the twist on the story, that here before they were enemies, and now they need each other to survive as part of their kind of punishment or rehabilitation. So that's what I'm drawing right here. A lot of times in these like effects, where it comes to cloth and stuff like that, I follow the pencils pretty loosely. That's both good and bad. Excuse me. It's good because it gives your inks some kind of fluidity or freedom, or expressive, some expression. It keeps it from being real stale and traced. But the bad thing is sometimes you can make some mistakes or do some things that you don't like the way it looks. And so in those cases, whiteout is my friend. And so I just use a whiteout pen to go through and correct anything. I also use this for a lot of effects, with snow or ice, or not ice, stars and things like that. You know, and details in the shadows and things, you know, things of that nature. So you'll notice, like, I don't know if you can see it in this video, but, you know, I've got some whiteout here because I didn't really like how thin that came. I wanted this to be more of a puffy kind of thing, kind of a leg warmer. I've got some whiteout in here that I had to fix that up. I tried to do some snowflakes in here, and I didn't really like the way they looked, so I whited all those out. But it doesn't really matter, because once you scan it in, a lot of that stuff you can't see. And if I was a fancy inker that did digital, I could just fix all that on digital and wouldn't need a whiteout. So maybe someday I'll switch over to digital. But as for now, I do all my stuff hand drawn. So yeah, so I'm just going in and filling in some of the detail work here with the cloth and all that kind of stuff. Let me see. Let me do this here. So yeah, so like I said, I try to do line variety, give it thickness and thin. That helps indicate both some shadow, and then just helps the eye fill in some details, give it the illusion of this is a real thing here. And here I'm just kind of playing around with how the cloth is gonna kind of flow in the wind. So there we go. So yeah, I think the only other thing I would say in this video, just as I draw, is to go along with the inking comment that the guy made about inking right over your drawings. I also get different kinds of critique. Like, some people will look at my stuff and they'll say, oh man, you know, I really enjoy your line work, you know, you do a really good job, and with the composition and all that kind of stuff. They'll be very complimentary. And then you'll have some other people who are not so complimentary. Like the other day, I had a guy look at my stuff, and he literally was like, you need a lot of work with your inking. I mean, he was pretty harsh. And I was just like going through and tearing up a lot of my stuff. And, you know, in those situations, you gotta like figure out a way to mine the good things out of that can be helpful, which is very difficult, especially in the moment that the person is evaluating or giving you a critique. And this person in particular that was giving me the critique is not even like an artist, which is even more difficult to hear. But I had to, I just tried to agree with him on the things that I could find to agree with him on. And the things I disagreed with him, I just, in my mind, just took a mental note of it and just thought, well, that's your opinion. I don't agree, but I want to try and figure out a way to listen to this critique and figure out how I can use it as my friend. But it's, like I said, it's very difficult to do because this is something you love. This is your passion. And it's easy for someone on the outside just to look at something and to critique it, and they don't see the hours that you put into something. And that can be very difficult to hear. So yeah, so that's what I would just say is like, try and find a way to hear what someone has to say about your art and mine the things out of it that are good. I mean, some of the things that the guy said was helpful. Some of the things in my mind, I thought, this guy's a moron. But I was like, no, I need to figure out a way to hear what he has to say and figure out how I can use that to get better. So anyway, so yeah, so I'm just going through this and just trying to create the illusion of cloth here wrapped around his hands. And after I'm finished with that, I'm gonna add some more detail into him. And I think I'm going to try to do the effect of snow. And so what I'll do is just take white out and go through all the dark areas and just put a little bit of dots to show. Like this will remain white, and this is all snow here. So it's all white, and so it's hard to see snow when it's against a white background, obviously. So what I'll do is in the dark spots put some dots to make it look like snow. We'll see how that works. That may ruin it, but that's okay. I can just start over with another piece. So anyway, so that's a little bit of inking. That's what kind of what I do, my process, the materials I use, and my approach to inking drawings. So yeah, thanks for checking this out, and I'll have another video up shortly.